All right, what is going on, guys? It is Adam and Marf. Today's show is going to be packed, and we have live calls tonight. The number is 224-400-MARF. We're going to talk about the email that leaked from SpaceX, basically saying that they have to be making rockets once every 2 weeks. Did they speed up the timeline for something else, or is it really money? We'll talk about that and more right when we come back. We'll be right back right after this. Nothing in this show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. If you have not already, it helps us out if you end up going through any of our affiliates, and it helps you out if you end up protecting yourself against cybercrime. NordVPN is one of the best and one of the easiest to use. If you do not have a virtual private network, it protects your IP address, which is your online identity, which actually connects to your real address and everything else. It also connects to you. If you know anything about how they are data logging and basically getting your profiles down, you can prevent that by having a VPN. Nord is, again, one of the easiest. Download it. It's like an on switch and off switch. All you have to do. Go to marfooglenews.com/VPN. Not only will you get a giant discount on this, but you will also be helping us. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everyone that goes through any of our affiliates. Can't say thank you enough. All right, what is going on, guys? It is Adam, aka Marf, and this is Marfoogle News. Today we have a lot to talk about, so if you're new here, remember you can follow along on our website. If you go to marfooglenews.com, not only will you find that you can sign up for email alerts, but you will also find that it is very easy to navigate. It is all done by thumbnail, so you will look for We Need Them Now. And, of course, the timeline has changed now. The title is subject to change, but again, once you check that, you will see that we have every single article, tweet, video, picture that we show you here today, we give you the source for. That way you know exactly where your news is coming from. Now, down below, you'll see a yellow bar. Once you hit that yellow bar, that is web-only content. That is the stuff that is basically too hot for TV. And, of course, lots of crazy things going on down there. It's an entire show in itself. Now, if you go over to the right, if you do want to support us in any way, we are completely independent. We do not have a multi-channel network. We don't even have a multi-billion-dollar company behind us. So you are our support. The Foogle family and the Mafia are the number one supporters of this show. So thank you guys for keeping this going, and we appreciate it much. Let's introduce my co-host / internet brother, Dex. What is going on tonight, and how are you doing?
Well, hello, Adam, and hello, Foogle fam. I am doing just fine.
So we'll get right into it. Obviously, there's a lot happening. And remember, if you do want to call in tonight, get in early. The numbers will be 224-400-MARF. And again, the phones will be opening up in just a moment here. But first, me and Dex are going to argue about this. Twitter bans sharing photos, video of people without their consent. I have a thought on this. Of course, my thought is that it is directly related to channels like Veritas. If you know what they do, essentially they get videos of people without their consent in a public place, and they're legally recording kind of a whistleblowing type activity, right? Usually they get somebody that's high up at a company, and that high up person is at lunch and comfortable and talking and saying a bunch of things, and then all of a sudden says something bad. In fact, they actually did a Veritas episode on Twitter, on Jack Dorsey, not too long ago. And in that episode, they showed an employee had basically screen captured where Dorsey was talking about some pretty bad stuff. And now, yesterday, Dorsey told us that he was stepping down the very same day that the Maxwell case started. And, of course, you had them come out today and say that they're banning of course, sharing photos, video of people without their consent. Now, Dex has an opinion on this as well, and I do actually see his point that YouTube has a similar kind of thing. Is that right?
Well, yeah, and I guess my opinion on this is that they're just doing the same thing that YouTube already does. And they're not banning in the sense that they're preventing you from doing it. They're just simply saying, we now accept requests from people to say, if your image has been used without your permission, we'll take it down, but we'll look for certain circumstances that allow it to be up. And if it meets those circumstances, it can stay. So I think, this is a big change, right, for Twitter. And it's kind of crazy that they're doing this, but, and it's kind of crazy that they're doing it the day after Jack resigns. But it is getting a lot of hubbub in the social sphere. And in some regards, like the whole notion of, Veritas, well, they've already banned them. So I don't know that, this doesn't really solve that problem, with the exception of maybe other people that share the content. But they can also, and they have done this before, if they don't like certain content, they just nix it anyway, right? So,
but again,
I don't know.
Veritas has tweets go viral all over the world, and every time, in fact, Veritas, what's his face, James O'Keefe, he actually brags about how viral stuff on Twitter gets, even though he is not there. So they got rid of him, but of course they couldn't get rid of the millions of people that follow him and share his stuff. So now, my personal opinion is that now they can do this. Again, there's some rules here, so I'll read kind of this part. It says, Twitter on Tuesday banned the sharing of photos and videos of private individuals without their consent. The company said in a blog post, the update is to its private information policy notes. People can contact them if they have such media removed from the microblogging platform. It says it doesn't apply to public figures if the media and tweet are of public interest. So that kind of right there, it says it does not apply to public figures if the media and the tweet are of public interest. So if it's the president, or if it's somebody that is in the public eye, or a celebrity or something as like that, or some TMZ thing, then that would not count. But that's what's weird is
it could be a caught on camera event from 60 Minutes, the same way it's a caught on camera event from Veritas, right?
Yeah, and and honestly, with what they did with the, of course, the laptop, and how they use the same rule to kind of do one or the other, I don't know if this is like, if they're going to use this specifically to do this. I get what you're saying, that YouTube already had that, but I guess it's kind of actually weird that Twitter did not, especially with all of the memes that go viral. Some of those memes and the people behind them, they didn't want to be memes. In fact, people have lost jobs from becoming a meme. We've actually had documentaries made about people that have been the star of memes, just a single picture, and it ruins their life, for the rest of their life. But in this case, if you made a meme with somebody's face and they didn't like it, and they're private individual, say they work at, Ace Hardware or something, they could then write in and say, hey, I want this removed, and Twitter supposedly will do it. It says, but content featuring those people may be removed if the site determines it's been shared to harass, intimidate, or use fear to silence them. So, Dex, that's the part. It's not necessarily I don't think they're going to use this in the sense where Joe Schmo from Pennsylvania is going to write in and say, hey, they're using my picture on the side of a truck, in this meme. I think it is going to be where they use that to harass, intimidate, to use fear to silence them, and just remove stuff, especially stuff from Veritas. And we don't know what they're coming up with next. They could have some big project. We know that Veritas had Dorsey on video once. What if Dorsey knows, well, if he got that same conversation, the other half of it has something even worse? Do you get what I'm saying? Like, maybe they're waiting to release that until they have some sort of something backing it up. It says,
right, but just to reiterate, they're not all of a sudden deciding to delete stuff. They've always been able to delete stuff, and they've always deleted stuff they didn't like.
Then why are they adding it?
Well, what they're adding is the ability for someone to request it to be deleted, and they'll react to it. That's the difference.
I think
if they didn't want for example, they don't like banned video, right? That URL. So when you put it in, it doesn't work anymore, right? There's certain things that they just choose to ban and prevent, and they do that anytime they feel like, and they can use any rule they have to twist it enough to make it happen. So if they didn't want a certain meme or a certain photo to go viral, they have the ability to do it, and we've seen them do it before, right? Irregardless of this change. This change is really just giving somebody else the ability to say, that's my picture, take it down. And you have to be a first-hand account. The request has to come from the first-hand account.
Irregardless or regardless?
Either one. They're both a valid word in Webster.
Either way, I know. See, I said we would argue. Okay, but at the same time, this could pawn off the responsibility to somebody. They could just hire somebody to say, hey, this is, or pay an individual to say, hey, I don't want that picture up or video. Because when they are just taking stuff off under their name, and like you said, they can just take stuff down anyways, that is being looked at by Congress, and all of these different lawmakers are looking at it and saying, you know, this is not okay. You guys are removing stuff, because they're removing lawmakers and you know, House representatives' tweets and things, and now people almost consider this a public square. As far as Twitter goes, Twitter is, by the way, and if you are not on Twitter, understand that you may say, who cares about Twitter? The world is somehow basing all of its decisions on what a couple people on Twitter are saying. That's why I think it's super fake. First of all, that we know that there's over 1 million users in China that are on the payroll. We know this as a fact, that they have a propaganda department and over 1 million on payroll that are just there to be online presences. So if they want something to go viral, if 1 million people go and click on something, it's going to go viral. If 1 million people share something out, it's going to have a giant effect. It doesn't matter if they're friends with you or whatever. If they share it out, the algorithms are going to pick that up. So yeah, no, I get both sides. And again, I think it's just weird timing, especially with the court case that happened yesterday. Why is he stepping down? Is there something that he may know that is there? If one of his employees came out and videotaped him, what else did that same employee videotape? Is there another tape coming out with him admitting something? Is that why he's stepping down from there? Or is there something even more nefarious? We'll talk about that later. It seems like yesterday a lot of weird things kind of happened behind the scenes, but we'll talk about that here in just a minute. Michael Raleigh and Daniel McSpadden, thank you for joining the Marfia, and thank you everybody that has already popped in. Delaware Sasquatch says, where will we get our Karen videos now? Well, exactly. If somebody uploads a Karen video, that Karen could go and say, I don't want my video up. And then Lisa K23, thank you so much for your early support of the show. Pez Player, Mrs. H, Angela 1609, One on B, Battleborn 111, and Mark's Drums, thank you. Johnny Doom, welcome as well. Everybody that has popped in so far. And Gem, thank you for modding and thank you for supporting. Chance Paladin and whoever else is modding over there, thank you guys. Channel Jammer and the whole gang. So what do you think about this? Do you think that they will use this as it's supposed to be used, or do you think that they may use this new rule for evil? And then we have a quest begins to drill Antarctica's oldest ice. So this is a piece by the BBC, and it says that efforts are about to get underway to drill a core of ice in Antarctica that contains a record of Earth's climate stretching back 1.5 million years. A European team will set up its equipment at one of the highest locations on the White Continent for an operation likely to take 4 years. Again, in 4 years, it will be 2025, which everything ends up in 2025. It says the European team will set up its equipment at one of the highest locations, and the project aims to recover a near 3-kilometer long cylinder of frozen material. Scientists hope that this ice can help them explain why Earth's ice ages flipped in frequency in the deep past. Beyond Epica, as the project is known, is a follow-up to a similar venture at the turn of the millennium called Simply Epica, European project for ice coring in Antarctica. It says the new endeavor will base itself a short distance away from the original at Little Dome Sea, an area located roughly 40 kilometers from the Italian-French Concordia Station on the East Antarctica Plateau. Sorry, I said that completely wrong. Hold on, let me shrink this down so we know, so we can see it on there. And then So this is kind of the supposed map. I know that certain groups of people are like, no, it's not. I get it. This is what they show us, right? And that's the supposed South Pole. And here is where the Dome Concordia station is. Obviously, if you have an opinion on this, I would love to hear it. I know that there are a huge amount of people that look into everything Antarctica. In fact, there's groups of people that actually cover almost everything Antarctica. Some believe that there are still bases there or secret bases. There obviously is a few bases that we know about and even secretive bases that we know about. But some think that there's many crazy theories. Some not so crazy, some pretty nutty. Considering that, some have even said that the NAZIS are still up there and they actually ran there in WW2 and survived and Adolf ended up living in Antarctica. I've heard that. I've heard aliens have a base there that they hide in the mountains there and that's why you can't go there and you can't go past a certain point. One thing is for sure, most normal people have not gone to Antarctica. So I guess there's not really anything, anybody that really knows, and that is what kind of gives credence or gives fuel to a certain group of people that believe what shape the Earth is, because you can't go past certain points because they are actually blocked and protected by governments. It says the camp where drill team will base itself was set up in 2019/20. This coming season will largely be about putting in the necessary drilling infrastructure, but the technicians do aim to at least start on their core quest by getting down beyond the first 100 meters. This should take the borehole past the lightly compacted snow layers, or firn, into the impervious ice layers that are the real interest for scientists. The deep ice in Antarctica contains tiny bubbles of air, and these little gas pockets are a direct snapshot of the historic atmosphere. Scientists can read off of the levels of carbon dioxide and other heat-trapping components, such as methane. So, obviously, this is going to, in the next couple of years, I bet you we're going to see a lot of results from this come out, or they're going to they're going to drill and tell us that more things are wrong, or show up more patterns. What do you think is going to happen here? Again, it's actually a very debated subject as far as the CLI MATE subject. What do you think? Put it in the comments down below. And then remember, if you do want to call in, the number to call is 224-400-MARF. Again, that's 224-400-MARF. That's 224-400-6273 if you want to call in, and make sure to press option 4. BOF's drilling tunnel to hell to build first ever volcano lab. And it says a daring project to drill a tunnel into the heart of an active volcano is underway, but could risk sparking a huge eruption, scientists have warned. An international team of researchers are planning to dig a hole 1.2 miles deep into the molten rock of the Krafla volcano in northeastern Iceland. They aren't looking for ancient treasure like Jules Verne's Journey to the Center of the Earth, however. It says the hope is to build the world's first ever magma observatory, where they can observe molten rock as hot as 1,300 degrees Celsius deep underground for the first time. The research team believe they might find a new energy source and even develop an early warning system for eruptions around the world. So this one is a weird one because obviously they have talked about NASA creating this plan for Yellowstone and drilling a hole down, pumping cold water in, and then pumping hot water out, and then actually turning it into energy or into power. I think it's interesting because obviously they have done a lot with volcanoes lately. I'm going to go over to the chat and see what everybody is popping in to say about this. Especially now, what if they're trying to practice run on the Yellowstone project as far as what they've talked about in the last year and a half? That was something that they said was kind of a world-saving thing. If that was the theory, right? If we can't stop Yellowstone, then Yellowstone could cause a worldwide blackout for a year or 2 years or whatever it is, and it would be a cloud that circles the Earth. Let's see here. Sounds like a terrible idea, says Laura Guttins. Priscilla R says, what a crock of BS. Yeah, so if they're going to like drill down and make, it sounds like a sci-fi movie where they would have like an observation room. This sounds like a bad B movie, to be honest. Smash that like button. Thank you, Britt Fano. And then Lori Chanel, they are nuts. It's a waste of time. And it says, so they're not calling it fracking anymore. Fixing to love Q. That's pretty funny, yeah. Sounds like hell. Yeah, I don't know what they were doing. One God will save you. Headache, ears ring. Yeah, talking about probably what a lot of people get nowadays. You can't stop Yellowstone, let her rip. Who was that? That was Winton Dupree. B movie spot on, says 29 photos. It'll be fine. Famous last words from Rusty Rambles. It says, this is weird if they are drilling in a volcano. Yes, that's weird. Be Real Beast. What's going on? News on Putin announcement. Well, we have lots of news today. And then Deep State, Gem, what is going on? Catherine Wilson. And thank you. God bless you, Marf and Dex and Mods too. That was Catherine. Thank you, Catherine. I appreciate that. Catherine Wilson, thank you for the support. Blowtorch Barbie is in the house, and Margaret Arnold. So as far as this goes, I wonder what is the actual thing behind this? Do you think that there's anything weird or nefarious? Let me know in the comments down below or call me at 224-400-MARF. And then we have DT. Yes, DT. Prince Andrew and Clinton all flew on EpiPen's jet. Pilot tells Maxwell's trial. So this is not good. Well, obviously, I think that a lot of people are disappointed to hear some of those names on there and not surprised at all to see others. What do you think about this? Again, they are basically saying that the pilot testified today and said that DT, the ex-president, Prince Andrew, and Bill, which no surprise there, all flew on EpiPen's private jet. The Peto's former pilot told the Maxwell trial. One thing I think of is if this guy was flying a plane and knew exactly what was going on, why the hell doesn't this guy go to jail too? If they, I think you would be an accomplice. It says the two former U.S. presidents and the Duke of York were mentioned as Maxwell faces 6 charges of trafficking and abuse over alleged roles as Epstein madam. Of course, they were basically calling her the madam to all the girls. It says Lawrence Vysotsky, who's testifying at the prosecution, was quizzed during cross-examination about passengers aboard EpiPen's distinctive Gulfstream plane. He confirmed that T-Man, Andrew, and Clinton all flew on the jet along with other big names such as Kevin Spacey, no surprise there, Chris Tucker, and violinist Itzhak Perlman. Of course, they had to have a violinist playing in the background, right? For the rituals. And then he also told the court he never saw any activity as far as, the actual activity on the flight or any underage girls without their parents. So were their parents bringing them? Like that? That's pretty weird. It says EpiPen is long known to have courted the rich and famous as he hid in plain sights, including the flights on this plane. It says, quote, I certainly remember President T-Man, but not many people associated with him, the pilot told the trial. He clarified that the millionaire mogul's flights happened before he was president. Well, duh. And it said, and Andrew have all previously been reported to have once had friendships with EpiPen. One thing, T-Man actually kicked out EpiPen out of his clubs. I don't know the whole story about that. I do know that they had an issue, or once, I want to say, I don't know if it was after he was convicted of something, that he kicked him out of his clubs. But I do know that Gilly, Mr. Bates, right, that he had dinners with him and even met several times after he was convicted for doing exactly this. And that first conviction, he almost got no sense. I mean, I think they said he could do it at home or something. because of how rich he is. He basically didn't even get a slap on the hand. He got like a ET phone home touch on the finger. So I don't know what happened in here. As far as, what is going to happen here is this obviously doesn't look good for T-Man. But, by the time this is if he does end up running, or if he lives long enough to run in 2024, or if something happens before then, will this affect his re-election, or will this be forgotten? These are pretty big accusations as far as this. As far as just flying on the plane, I do know that several people have said that, that EpiPen had a double life, as far as a double lifestyle, and he had multiple kind of regular people come with, and he even had, at one point, I believe he had a whole class of school children with parents and teachers come to their island at some point. So who knows?
Well, and that's what the pilot who was testifying today, he went on and said. He said he never saw anything inappropriate. He never saw anything physical. But he also said, I also saw families. I saw kids with their parents. He said, we flew all over the place all the time for lots of different things. So I'm not trying to diminish or embellish, but that's just what he stated. And that's what we'll learn as this case comes out from these these facts.
What if they hired
witnesses or information, right?
What if they hired women that looked like their parents, or not look, but just older women to accompany, so it looked like it was parents and children? Because he says several times, because they probably would keep him in the dark too, right? He says he never saw underage girls without their parents. So he was seeing underage girls, but they had their parents with them. It doesn't make sense. I mean, they have the kind of money where they would just hire extra women to be around so they would look like parents or something. I don't know. As far as, because, they are doing something seriously wrong, and just having a bunch of underage girls with a bunch of 50-year-old dudes doesn't look good. Just period.
Totally possible. And on the flip side, though, and I'm not trying to stick up for this guy because he's obviously a very bad guy based on all the allegations and stuff. But for someone to be in a position of that kind of power, they wield a lot of business transactions. And you can't necessarily assume that 100% of his actions of use of a jet plane to fly around is only for the nefarious purposes, right? I mean, he'd probably, maybe 50-50, maybe 80-20, maybe 20-80, I don't know. But there's some portion of that that's probably just, benign. But there's some other portions that we've, heard from allegations that they're not benign.
He did, because he did a lot of public trading, and he did do a lot of actual business deals. The guy was an entrepreneur, and he was somebody who was an investor. But we'll never know. Like you said, it could be 99.1%. Like every single person on that plane could be a pervert, right? Or it could be reverse, where it was only a select group of people that he let in that circle. Andrew, obviously he's got pictures with the girls and stuff. That's just disgusting. I'm sorry, but it's like, I don't know I don't understand how there are people that are out. When you have somebody that recently was all over the news and had 5 victims, 5 underage, boy victims. How are you out on the street to even get killed? How are you out? And then, of course, everywhere I have moved, I have checked that kind of, what do you call it? It's the registry, right? To see who is around. And this is something that you want to do, but you don't want to do at the same time. When you check that registry, you're going to see living around you, almost everywhere, has somebody that is a convicted offender, and they have to list their name and their picture and everything, and you can see their name and picture. I found one near me that had served 15 years for basically a direct and the harshest crime against a 6-year-old. And it's like, how is he out? And what they're saying now, and I'm sorry, I don't care if people dislike me. Now they're saying that, they just need help, or some are even saying it's a preference, and like They're trying to normalize this stuff. And that's never going to be okay with me. I don't care if I get canceled. And that's literally, I think that's where the future is going, where they're going to cancel people for looking down on people because it will be like it's a disability or something, or a preference. I mean, can you imagine if they did the same thing they did with and I'm not trying to compare, but other sets of people? There are a lot of people that do this stuff. That's why the prisons have a good chunk of these people that do this disgusting things. That means that there's a whole group of people on Earth that are into this. But what that also means is at some point they could actually say, well, this is a whole big group, what do you call it? A minority or whatever you want to call it. Somebody is going to fix my sentence in the chat. Protected minority or something. It's just like, and they've talked about this. You think I'm kidding? Like, they've talked about this being something as like a preference or something. It just like unbelievable crap. I have 4 kids, and I just can't imagine like a 60-year-old guy with 15 or 16-year-old. That's just disturbing. And then, you know what? I'll tell you this, on TikTok, TikTok has been doing all these things. There is a whole group of people that have done, they're 18-year-old girls that do these videos, and you'll see this if you're on TikTok long enough. You'll see that there's 18-year-olds with 60-year-old dudes, and they're like, everybody comments about our age gap, but we just love each other. And then like there's all these people supporting it, like, if you found love, you found love. If it's a 60-year-old dude and an 18-year-old girl, he was 42 when she was born. That's not okay. I'm sorry, I don't get the giant age gap. Maybe if it was like she was 30 and he was 70. But if you're 18, 16, 17, and they're 40 years older, that's not okay. Think about yourself when you were 18 years old. Were you all there? I wasn't. I wasn't there until like 25, 26, 27. I don't think many of us are. We think we are. We think we're so old. We think we're so... we think we're so mature, but we're not. We're constantly, maturing, even into our 30s, 40s, 50s. I'm sure there's 70-year-olds that are watching right now that still don't feel like they're grown-ups, right? So who knows? Sorry, I went off on a side rant. But anyways, this whole trial is going to be wild. We're going to follow it. We'll try to give you whatever updates we can as far as that. And then we'll also have all of the updates on the website as far as a lot of the stuff that's going on. So make sure to go to marfooglenews.com. If it gets like gross, we're going to put it on the website. I definitely don't want to talk about some of the actions that are happening. That's for dang sure. All right. A message from Tom Holman.
My name is Tom Holman. I'm the former ICE director under President Donald Trump. And I'm here to ask America to wake.
And no, we won't. That's okay. Just close that. If you guys have not checked out EMP Shield yet, I would highly recommend it. This is one of the only ways to protect yourself as far as that is military tested and used by multiple agencies. This company is one of few that is actually not only used by 3-letter agencies to protect their buildings and their military establishments, but it's also the same company that is on the DEMSO team helping protect the Texas grid. What this device does is it grounds the signal in under a picosecond, which is not even a microsecond, not a macrosecond, a picosecond. And it basically grounds it before it's able to fry any of the devices that you have it hooked up to. Now, they make different devices. One of the most popular is the car. That means if you have an EMP or a CME hit while you're far away from home or you're out on the road, your car will still run after multiple EMPs. They tested it upwards of 40. And if you know how EMP and CMEs work, they work in pulses. So that's like overkill as far as testing it after 42 pulses because it takes time to recharge. So again, this is one of the best ways to actually protect yourself. And again, this, I have to say, is better if you have a whole setup. As if you have it on your house, on your generator, and on your car, then you have backups. Somebody said, well, what if you run out of gas for your generator? You're not going to be able to get gas. One, that's why a lot of people have gas saved up, or they get barrels of gas. That's what real preppers do. And I won't say real, but hardcore preppers do. But also, they have solar generators now. You can hook one of these up to a solar generator and protect yourself that way. Then, as long as you have sun, of course, you can actually have a generator. So if you're protecting that way, then you can power your devices inside your house that are not fried because it got fried by an EMP. This is a huge threat, and the mainstream media doesn't talk about it nearly enough that it needs to, and this is a real threat to all of us. If we all had this, the whole United States would be better off. I will tell you this, a lot of the military buildings and everything else are going to be protected. It's going to be like, well, are you expecting them to save you? No. And do you think that their first priority is going to get your power on? No. It's going to get their power on and protect themselves and protect the government. So if you do want to make sure that you are set up and prepared and insurance of a type, go to marfooglenews.com/EMP, and not only will you get our $50 off, any of their Black Friday, Cyber Monday sales that are still going, again, will stack on top of that. So that means per device, you'll get more than 50, and it can actually stack depending on how many you get. All right, and then that's, again, marfooglenews.com/EMP. Go check it out. And, again, that helps support us, and it helps protect yourself. All right, and then Dex, I was going to go over to the phones, 224-400 Marf. It looks like we have Josh, a first-time caller, talking about employee shortages from Iowa. So we'll get Josh on, and I do want to say thank you to everybody over on YouTube and DLive. Thank you, Delaware Sasquatch, especially in Arizona Ice Queen.
And Adam, it looks like Josh is live.
Josh, you are live on Marfoogle News. What's going on?
Not much, boss. How you doing? First-time caller, long-time listener.
Well, nice to meet you.
Love the show.
So what's going on with employee shortages?
Okay, so I work in the restaurant industry, and we listen to your show on the nightly back in the kitchen. And my question is that with employee shortages, as bad as they are, how good of it do you think a decision would be made to mandate certain things to be able to keep your job?
What do you mean, like what Florida is doing, or like?
Well, kind of. What is going to be enacted as of the first of the year type things, where any business with over 100 employees.
Yes, no, I get what you're saying. So I guess I was confused by your question. What do I think will happen when that happens, or?
Well, I'm just saying, like, around my area, I'm in Iowa, we have enough employee shortages. Like, I mean, we can't get products to our restaurant because trucks in different states aren't able to get here because of employee shortages. Okay, so with big business like that, the employee shortage, don't you think it's going to get worse if certain mandates are forced upon people?
Yes, we already, I mean, that's part of why it's already happening. I mean, you even have congressmen and House representatives saying it straight out. A lot of people are afraid to say it because you can't say anything now. Yeah, of course it will. And federal employees have that kind of, some have an extended deadline to the, I want to say January 1st or 7th or whatever it may be. But a lot of them
Correct.
have already hit their deadline. So now you're seeing a lot of firemen and police and all of these different jobs that have turned in their boots. And it's like, yeah, of course it's going to make it worse. But here's the thing. By then, I don't know in another month if there's going to be any other huge kind of court decisions. But every time this goes to court, the court has to rule in a certain way. I mean, It basically every expert has looked at this and said it's not constitutional. So how can they do it? And then when it goes to court, they go, well, it's not. So I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen here. I think it's like, push as hard as you can without actually having it being official, and then see as many people as you can do it without actually anyone getting in trouble. I know businesses have gotten fined, right? But how long have we seen businesses not pay it? Will they be able to hold up in court if they get sued for that fine? I don't know.
Right.
In Iowa, how is it like there? Is there a lot of places hiring?
Oh, everyone is. Every single restaurant is hiring. Everyone is hiring. We can't get. A friend of mine has a friend that has a trucking corporation. He has 60 trucks sitting vacant right now because he cannot get employees. People are just not working. That's just how it is.
Yeah, it doesn't make too much sense, does it? And most people don't want to work for a big company right now because they'll be forced to do something. So I don't know. This must make it harder for everybody.
My brother is actually he's taking early retirement at the beginning of the year from a very large corporation because he refuses to accommodate their agenda, if you will, and he's going to retire. He's 55 years old, but he would rather take early retirement than deal with their agenda once again.
Well, same with one of my uncles works for a airline. He's higher up in an airline, and he can't believe that they're doing this right now, and he's going to be they don't want him to leave. He's a very technical part of the company. He's IT, and he's super important. They can't replace him. So I don't know if they're even, what are these companies going to do if they have somebody who is so crucial and they say no? What are they going to do? Like turn a blind eye or something for a while? I don't get it. But again, if they do turn a blind eye, it will be like, well, do we need this guy? We can't replace him, or do we pay $700,000 or $70,000 or whatever the fine is? I don't know. It's all a crap show. So
yeah, this is horrible. I'm sorry. I just wanted to get my opinion out a little bit, boss. I love your show. Love talking to you, man.
Hey, well, thank you for calling in, and thanks for anybody in the kitchen listening. Thank you guys for watching the show, and really appreciate you guys that are basically, that are staying working through this whole thing. Like, that's what we should all be doing. So thank you.
Yep, yeah. All right, thank you, boss. Have a good night.
All right, you have a wonderful night, Josh. Bye-bye. And to the workers in the kitchen, don't give Josh any crap. Catherine Wilson, God bless you, both Marf and Dex mods too. Thank you. I appreciate that. And then I saw another person pop in briefly. Looks like True Technique says, hey, I just wanted to show my support. If you are interested in hip-hop with real messages, check me out sometime. Only news I watch. #FoogleFam. True Technique. I will definitely check you out. Let's see. I'll take a picture so I can remember. I like finding new channels. That's cool. Especially new music. Can barely see your thing there. Bam. Okay. So, let's get back. I want to pull up the chat for this because I want to kind of get the feeling for this. So, I have some crazy thoughts about this, and I may be crazy. One thing is people say that, we try to, for the most part, let you kind of do the thinking for yourself. I'm not trying to convince anybody of anything. The one thing that I will do is if I get information that I absolutely know is true, I'm going to tell you. And I very rarely do that. So I just want everybody to say, too, in the chat, am I somebody who says, like, the world will end on the 8th, or this is going to happen. Do I ever do that kind of stuff where I'm telling you exact stuff like, oh, this is going to happen on November 23rd and blah, blah, blah? Do I ever do that? Again, is that something that I do? For anybody that doesn't know this channel, thank you. So as far as we'll talk about, kind of rough predictions, but we don't tell you that it's going to be something this or this or this is going to happen. We take guesses on what may happen, right? But as far as very specific information based on a source, you don't hear me saying, I have a high up source that said this, unless it is one, true, two, it is something I absolutely believe, or three, the source is incredibly reliable. Because I don't want to stick my foot in my mouth. I don't want to be wrong. In fact, everybody knows I love the same people that says you just want a pat on the back for being right. Those same people then say that I say, no, I don't. Because I do want to be able to say that this was something that I was able to tell people. Well, I warned that a prominent member said that we were going in the way of Australia after Black Friday. It was the morning of Saturday, the day after Black Friday. They announced all of these changes based on a thing that was discovered November 9th. The very first thing of Omicron, right? And then boom, all of a sudden, that's when they choose right after Black Friday. If they discovered it 2 weeks before that, 3 weeks before that, why didn't they start doing it then? Well, they needed Black Friday money, right? Black Friday money, Saturday hits. I said this on the 20th, on right after on the 27th or 26th or whatever it was, the 27th. Boom. It starts and new restrictions start. That was because that was a prominent military member. And again, it wasn't like it was a week after that or in that month. It was right afterwards. And I do have a point of all this because there's more coming, okay? And I do not say things like that very often. I have some crazy thoughts and I have some things that I think. But at the same time, we had over 500 military members in our group when we had our Discord, before our Discord got taken down. And a lot of those military members are in the chat or in the room right now. Ex-military, current active military, watching from base. So I don't get why people don't think like we have anybody watching. There are a lot of people that think just like you, and they're all on the same wavelength. My point is it has gotten really bad really fast, and it's going to get worse. And I'm not saying this to scare people. In fact, if people know, that will reduce their fear. It should reduce your fear knowing what's going to happen next, not make you cave in and crawl up in a ball. You should be able to be better prepared for what's happening. Now, I have some thoughts on Elon here, but I do want to get out of the way right now. There is obvious signs that there are going to be definitely something is basically, it's going to get worse by the day, and it's very, very obvious that they're setting up for that. We had the response team come out on the White House, the specific response team for what is going on right now. When you start seeing that, and when you start seeing more and more of these meetings, that's when you know that they're picking up almost the same thing. So I would highly recommend you guys make sure to just get a simple amount of stuff and set it off to the side. This isn't going to be a pretty crazy stuff. But I would definitely recommend getting stuff. And if you remember, China told their people November 1st is when they sent out that alert to China saying stock up on your stuff. And why? They finally came out and said, no, it's not the end of the world. We're not going to war. We are just telling you just in case we go on down again, right? If you look, all this month, it was like they knew something, or they were something. And then they waited until after Black Friday to hit all these things. If you believe it or not, either way, you probably would be kind of irritated, because if they knew about it beforehand, like, I don't know, if this was a real thing that was going around and China knew about it on the 1st and they waited 25 days for the holiday season and the money to roll in to all these multi-billion-dollar corporations and then do something about it, well, then you just missed 3 weeks. And then if it was something real that's going around, then it's just spread all over the place, and you held it off until after Black Friday. There's multiple things. We're going to do a video about it. I want you guys to make sure to watch that Marfoogle News channel, because in the next couple of days, we're going to put out stuff, okay? I want to get to Elon. Elon Musk tells SpaceX employees basically stock up on some extra stuff and put it off to the side. Don't use it. Don't dig into it. And I'm talking about just normal stuff. You can do toilet paper, but also paper towels, stupid stuff, and then get a few extra things and don't dig into it when you're hungry next week. And it's not a big emergency. It's just we may be stuck in our houses again, and people are going to fight that. And I don't even want to say it because people go, it's not going to happen here. You don't know. If things drastically change overnight, it will happen, because they'll have a new reason of why they can do it. I do want to point out, and this is where I have some crazy thoughts, because no matter how high you go up, there's like a certain thing where people just don't know. Elon Musk tells SpaceX employees that Starship engine crisis is creating a risk of bankruptcy. Now, this comes from a leaked email. And there's a couple things here. This could be purposely leaked. Who knows? Elon could be doing this on purpose to lower the SpaceX stock, which, again, Dex, I don't know. Dex, have you seen SpaceX stock?
Public.
It's not public.
It's not a public. It's private.
Oh, so is Tesla public, right?
Yeah, Tesla's public. SpaceX is not. It's private.
Huh, weird. Okay. So, yeah. Then
and I have some insights on how the monetization of that company works and why this is a big deal. But go ahead, and I'll chime in a minute.
Okay. I have a thought, though. So this email leaked, and we have seen this before. If you've seen the creation of SpaceX, they say that it was hanging on by a thread at one point, and that it was basically make it or break it. And in that case, they made it, right? In fact, they were down to their third rocket, and Elon put all of his own money in it to make SpaceX work. And on that third rocket, I believe it actually worked, and it went flawless, or fourth rocket, whatever it was. But this has happened before where it was getting down to the line. I wonder if he was, of course, trying to pressure his people into getting this done by saying that and get his people to be going. And I'll tell you what it says. It says, Elon Musk is angry with the lack of progress that SpaceX has made in developing the Raptor engines that power the Starship rocket. He described a dire situation the day after Thanksgiving in a company-wide email, a copy of which was obtained by CNBC. It says, the Raptor production crisis is much worse than it seemed a few weeks ago, Musk wrote. It says, we face a genuine risk of bankruptcy if we cannot achieve a Starship flight rate of at least once every 2 weeks next year. So by next year, he wants a rocket to be able to leave every 2 weeks, twice a month. It says Starship is the massive next generation rocket SpaceX is developing to launch cargo and people on missions to the moon and Mars. The company is testing prototypes at a facility in southern Texas and has flown multiple short test flights. But to move to orbital launches, the rocket prototypes will need as many as 39 Raptor engines each, necessitating a sharp ramp in engine production. Musk's email to SpaceX employees provides more context to the significance of the departure of former VP of Propulsion, Will Heltze, earlier this month. Heltze had been taken off Raptor development before he left, CNBC reported, with Musk noting that in his email that the company's leadership has been digging into the program's problems since then and discovering the circumstances to be far more severe. Now, Dex, before you go into the financials of this, I do want to say I have a side thought, and this is my crazy thought, is what if this is just genuinely a rush to start getting these things up in the air? He has this overall goal of sending this many people to Moon and Mars. You could look at it this one way, where what if he is actually saying we need to rush and we need to get these engines going as fast as possible because the timeline has changed. Something is sped up. They have new information. By the way, this is right floating around that, you've got William Shatner saying that there's a coming catastrophic event. Prince William saying, why are they trying to leave Earth instead of fix Earth? And basically it was all the same day. All these weird things happened. Like it was like they all went to the meeting and came out of it and pissed off. And then, of course, DART was launched. There's also a movie called Don't Look Up, which, by the way, the director specializes in true real-life stories. Probably going to do a video on that. Super weird. It starts out with this is based on real events that haven't happened yet. If you watch the Don't Look Up trailer, really crazy. It even talks about how they reacted stupid and that they said that the asteroids were worth, trillions of dollars. It's a conversation that we've been covering for the last year. It's almost like they might have found out about something. Maybe a lot of things are riding on this DART. I don't know. But I do think it's weird that he is like all of a sudden kicking it up. And does Elon Musk not know that his emails are going to get launched? I guess it does make a huge difference that it is not a publicly traded company. So that actually takes a floor out of underneath, part of my theory. So Dex, go into what you think.
Well, so I think your theory is there's nothing wrong with your theory, and it's right. It's certainly spot on and potentially possible. And at the end of the day, if it was true, he wouldn't use that statement. He would use the statement he's using now. Like he wouldn't say it the way you're saying. He wouldn't say, "We know we have to get off the planet," or "We know we have to do all these things that we haven't been able to talk about. So you got to get these rockets launched." He's telling them why they have to do it. Now, the way he's built this case is that, they haven't made the progress they needed to make with the Starship, which is their new big silver looking rocket. We've seen it a few times, fail on re-landing. But they upgraded Starlink, and the new version 2 of Starlink is bigger and requires the use of this spaceship to launch those devices. So in other words, they pitted Starlink, which, by the way, Starlink is the part of the company that's supposed to make money. And one part of the company is supposed to make money and supposed to go public. So they need Starlink to survive. And unfortunately, now what he's saying is Starlink won't survive if they don't have this ship to get it up, because they decided to build this newer version that requires the bigger ship. So, and then, by the way, they have funded themselves from investments from his own money and other people's money. They've raised money, and of course, they've been paid from NASA and other people to do some of the launches. So they do get some money from the government. But everything they've invested has been in the company has been used towards Starship. The government and no one else came along and said, "Hey, we'll invest in Starship." Starship wasn't something that the U.S. government asked for. So they weren't able, it wasn't like it was funded. So it is self-funded. They spent all their money on it. Then they pitted Starlink against it. And now they're like, oh my gosh, if something's wrong, we can potentially be in a bad situation. At least that's the public message, or I should say the private message that went public that he's putting out there. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. And I hope that Dex put it a little bit better. It's like he wouldn't say, hey, we've got to rush and get these rockets. Specifically, these rockets are also for taking the people and cargo up. I didn't know about the part of the Starlink that it's bigger Starlink, so they have to take this up. But who knows? That could be also a part of it. That could also be something that they say needs the bigger rockets or something, because they need to make more and more and more of them. I don't know. Elon is extremely smart. The guy, his brain works differently than most people. That's why people accuse him of being an alien. He runs his day on a 5-minute schedule, blocks of 5 minutes. So
he took off Thanksgiving. So he was supposed to be on vacation, and he came in and worked all the way through Thanksgiving weekend on the production line.
He's a beast.
For the Raptor, right? He was like, these engines are having a problem. So I'm literally, and that was part of his email, was telling everybody, I'm coming in and doing this because you guys have got to do this. It's important. But the other thing, you said he's very smart and he
leading by
he
example.
knows how to push buttons. He also knows that email he sent out to the employees was going to go public. So
yeah,
he knew what he was doing.
Because the amount of people that he sent it to, there's all one person had to do was copy and paste that to a reporter and get paid. Especially since that was an internal memo and it was to so many people, but it was not supposed. They had this intention of not. Bill P says, "What about war with?" Bill P says, "What about war with Russia and China?" As far as it is inevitable, in my opinion, it is inevitable. But again, I think that a lot of this is all slated because of one another. These are all dominoes that are going to fall. Russia has 100,000 people on the border, and they have set up you've got mobile hospitals. You have all of their gear, all of their tanks. They right now, as we speak, Bill, we actually have 3 points of Ukraine where they are set up. As of yesterday, they say, in fact, in the last 3 or 4 days, you had the Ukrainian president saying that in January. January, what was it, Dex? Was it January or February? That he said that they were going to invade in January or February. And by the way, that's not us saying that. That's the Ukrainian president saying his intelligence. And then the U.S. got intelligence that they are going to attack. And then, of course, Russia responded to that and said, no. And whatever we do in our country, and if we want to move tanks around and move it to 3 points of the border, that's our business. Keep out of our business. At the same time, we just talked about how China has military on civilian boats. They have loaded up. They are drilling to take Taiwan. So that is happening. That is an inevitability. It's just, will we jump in? Or who will jump in? That's something that's all happening all at the same time. I think that whatever they're talking about with these rockets, this could be like 2030, 2028, 2025 timeline. Something is going on in 2024, 25, and we've shown you that. They actually say that there's going to be all of these weird events. By the 2030s, we're going to have catastrophic flooding because of the moon wobble. That's not me saying that. You want fear porn? Go to the mainstream. They are telling you that we're going to have catastrophic world flooding in the 2030s. And that's based on scientists all over the world all coming together and going, yeah, we agree. Like, that's crazy. That's fear porn, right? But apparently it's not fear porn if it's real, right? Well, that's where I say it's not fear porn. If I know something for a fact, if I say, hey, this is going to happen, and I know it, and I know it's going to happen. It's like people are picking at me. It's like I said a week before, I said right after Black Friday, there's going to be new restrictions. At that point, there was none of this news. None of the Omni stuff. None of it. They were talking about the NU because there wasn't an NU. Most people don't even know that this wasn't the NU. This NU did not exist. They skipped NU. They were talking about MU. M as in mother, U, months before that. And then Delta, right? And then it skipped all the way to, of course, they were talking about this whole new Omni. The day, how close do you need it to get? For Intel, and when I actually do put out Intel and say, hey, we're going to be falling and the restrictions are kicking up and it's by day. It's only been 3 days since that day after Black Friday. And then look, Saturday morning, go look at the news. When you see the Omni stuff news, it was Saturday morning, the day after Black Friday. How close do you need to get on that Intel to believe me? This is why we do point out stuff, because we want our track record to be immaculate, and we may be goofy sometimes, and we've got to do this 5 nights a week. But when I do say something, I do want people to take me seriously. And there's not one person that can say, oh, you led me wrong or you led me astray on this or that, because I'm very careful about what I say. very, very sure of myself before I say it. And I'm not saying I'm perfect, but that's why I think things through beforehand, or I try. And if I do make a mistake, I try to go back and say, I screwed up. So I don't know if that was said as far as like, oh, you said that this was going to happen. It is going to happen. It's happening right now. I mean, I don't know how clear it could get that this is all going down at the same time. As far as the stuff that we're talking about, they have like this timeline. It seems to me like the governments of the world have this timeline that they're trying to get stuff done right now. They're doing all these weird tests, all these weird drills, all these weird evacuations, all these weird bio event drills. It's like, what is it all for if it's not for an actual event? And then you have the sideline distractions like the daily thing that people talk about at the water cooler. Maxwell, I haven't heard too many people say that is one, but there's a lot of them. As far as SpaceX, what do you think? Do you think that SpaceX is just doing this because they are possibly going to go bankrupt? Or do you think that there's something behind it? Love to hear it. All right, and then we have China's mysterious hypersonic weapon can stay in orbit, according to Space Force General. So the gentleman who is saying this is a big deal. It says the ability to keep a nuclear-armed hypersonic glide vehicle again in orbit for a prolonged period of time makes for a far more unpredictable threat. So what he is saying is this thing can go around the world, just hang out and no threat at all, and then all of a sudden dip in and do its business. It says a senior U.S. Space Force officer has stressed that China's new hypersonic weapon system is indeed orbital in nature and could be able to stay in space for an extended period of time. This is the latest piece of an official information about his novel system that reportedly uses some sort of kind of hypersonic glider, which may be capable of launching its own projectiles to actually execute a strike. Now, remember, they said that they virtually, they broke science, they broke physics when they found this out, that this thing can go at hypersonic speed and it can launch hypersonics from it. They're like, their minds were broken. We saw scientists, some of the most respected scientists in the country say, it just doesn't compute. They're actually breaking physics here as far as going hypersonic speed and then being able to launch something and hit its target. That's unbelievable. And at this point, now you have resignations from the Pentagon, and their quotes, the senior chief officer says that China has us beat. China has us beat in AI and in technology. That's freaky. Now, in a second here, we're going to get another caller on. Again, the number is 224-400-MARF. As far as this goes, this means that this thing can sustain for, multiple periods of time up in space and then swoop around and swoop in. It says Saltzman, who transitioned from the Air Force to the Space Force last year, has an overall responsibility for operations, intelligence, sustainment, cyber, nuclear operations of the United States Space Force, according to the service website. So this is the guy that's in charge of all of that, right? His responsibility is to look at the threats. It says, I think that the words that we use are important so that we understand exactly what we are talking about here. Saltzman explained, I hear things like hypersonic missile, and I hear suborbital sometimes. It says hypersonic speed is typically defined as anything above Mach 5. Suborbital refers to objects that may technically reach space, such as more traditional intercontinental ballistic missiles, but that do not enter any sort of orbit around the planet. So they're saying the ICBMs are suborbital, so they go up and almost hit orbit, but they don't, and then they go back down. This is a categorically different system. So everybody in this Foogle fam knows this is what we're talking about with this new system. It is orbital. It says this is because a fractional orbit is different than suborbital. A fractional orbit means it can stay in orbit as long as the user determines, and then it deorbits as part of the flight of the path. So this is, if it's true, and if we're on a ball, right? Now, and again, I try to be as understanding to, because we have people that believe all different things here, right? If that's the case, then this thing's going around and it can stay out there in this, like, right in this medium mode and just keep going and going and going. And then when they press the button, it then can launch its own little thing and go whoop and swipe in and swoop. This is why people are talking about their new tech, their super EMPs that they have done that can even be launched from something that's already orbiting us or possibly orbiting. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, so that, think about this. So we've talked about the fact that there are EMPs up there, right? Because they're in a satellite, right? They can be hidden in a satellite because it basically launches, it stays in orbit, and it just sits there. Because when an EMP has to go off, it goes off in the upper atmosphere. It doesn't really come down, down here to the lower end of Earth. It's up in the upper atmosphere. But what they're talking about now, in addition to having that technology, in addition to having super EMP technology, is that this hyperglide missile is sitting there the whole time just waiting. So instead of only having an EMP up there, they now can have basically nukes on the go, ready to launch at hypersonic speed at any time from space. And
to listen how John Hyten, and we've talked about John Hyten, he was the now retired Air Force General John Hyten, whose last post was as the Vice Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, one of the highest positions up there. It says earlier this month, it went around the world, dropped off a hypersonic glide vehicle that glided all the way back to China that impacted a target in China. And it was only off by a couple miles. Now with new technology, it doesn't matter if you're 10 miles off. You're still going to destroy pretty much everything that you want to destroy. Or if it's an EMP, they have a broad kind of area that they can hit. So they know it doesn't matter if it's 10 miles off, as long as they get this certain kind of section. From what I understand, especially here, if they get us with a super EMP, it would have to be, it's like a 80 or 90 mile window. So
I really hope that, who's it, Reagan that did Star Wars? I really hope that program actually exists and didn't just get defunded like they publicly told us it did. Because that would probably be our only defense, right? Is having laser-based systems that are faster than anything else, because it's the speed of light, right? From up above.
Well, it's if the sensors could see and that goes back to Starlink. They said Starlink, they were adding sensors on that to that's another thing. So Starlink is part of our defense system. Remember? So if Starlink is part of the U.S.'s defense against hypersonic objects, maybe that's another reason why they need to get these launched up or something.
Yeah, probably.
To defend against these FOBs, fractional orbital bombardment systems.
Yeah, they have a long way to go to hit the numbers that they're trying to launch with Starlink. We've seen them launch, 60 at a time, probably half dozen times, or maybe 10 times, 20 times. But I think the numbers they're trying to reach are staggering. So they obviously have a lot more launches to do, and that's probably a very good excuse for it.
Well, it's definitely there. By the way, thank you, Justin True. That was really nice of you. I can't see it yet. Hold on. Justin True says, stay prepped up and prayed up. Aloha, brother. And then Justin True says, Adam never cries wolf, not even during Jade Helm. Thank you, Justin True. I appreciate that. As far as not even during Jade, I think I wasn't on YouTube back when that happened. I was, I guess. That was pretty nuts. Jade Helm in general was just nuts. If you guys don't remember that operation, then that's pretty freaky. And then Justin True, thanks for stopping by. As far as, at some point, people say crying wolf. At some point, we're going to meet the wolf. And the wolf, I guess, is a dragon. Our deadline for the mandate is almost up. We are about to lose almost half of our workforce, so we are now offered bonuses to find new hires externally. That was his Queen 711. So what she is saying is that her work is basically offering bonuses to find friends and people that will come to work. That's crazy. George at Montreal, thank you for the support there. That Gen X dude, Antarctica also sports the deepest freshwater lake. I did not know that. That's a cool factoid. And then Dustin Layton, thank you for being the last one out. Tanya, what the flux capacitor, thank you. The lifeboat, I appreciate you. COD Mobile Extravaganza. It says this is Ezekiel 38 at the door. Thank you last time. And then Vibron, thank you. Crazy, crazy stuff. And then Russia, China are attacking U.S. every single day in shadow space war, Space Force commander claims. Dex, that's pretty it's huge to say. And again, we're going to be lining up the next call. It looks like we have that Gen X dude on the line.
Yeah, I mean, this is back, sort of back to back, right? In the sense that, I think we've got back to back Space Force, leaders coming out with these types of statements. And I think the next one after this is similar, but it's different. But yeah, that's a strong statement daily.
Just to repeat that, Russia and China are attacking U.S. satellites every single day with lasers, radio jammers, and cyber attacks in a shadow space war. That's not from Bill at Vice Magazine. That's not from Steve at Rolling Stone. That is from a Space Force commander, active duty. It says American satellites far outside the Earth's orbit are facing a near constant barrage of threats from Russian and Chinese technology. And it's only getting worse, a top Space Force officer is warning. An arms race in space between the U.S., Russia, and China has been steadily heating up in recent years, even as officials in Washington warn that such a buildup is dangerous. It says the threats are really growing and expanding every single day, and it's really an evolution of activity that's been happening for a long time. General David Thompson told the Washington Post in a piece published on Tuesday. It says Thompson is the U.S. Space Force's first Vice Chief of Space Operations, having previously served more than 3 decades in the Air Force. Now remember, if this was an Air Force general or an Air Force commander, everybody would go, oh my gosh. I think that the fact that people don't, they go, oh, it's Space Force. Space Force are all the same level as every other branch. This is huge. These are actual generals and commanders coming out and saying that we're in conflict with Russia and China right now. It's not talked about. And for him to say this publicly is insane. Because what are they going to come out and say? Oh, well, wait. They came out in August and said that we attacked them and that we created this whole thing in the Fort Detrick, and that they told every single person in their official newspaper that you take as gospel in China, they told every citizen that we are the attackers and that we are the enemy. And that we are the reason why they all got put in their houses and couldn't go anywhere. Meanwhile, we're sitting here being politically correct, saying, "Oh, well, we don't want to harbor towards anyone." No, the Chinese government is who people are talking about, not the people. It says, he warned, we're really at a point now where there's a whole host of ways that our space systems can be threatened. Some of the regular attacks facing the U.S. include the use of lasers, radio frequency jamming, and other cyber attacks, Thompson said. He also revealed that a 2019 weapons test by a Russian satellite came so close to a U.S. satellite that the military feared an imminent attack. Are you kidding me? Just to read that one more time, it says, he also revealed that a 2019 weapons test by a Russian satellite came so close to a U.S. satellite that the military feared an imminent attack. They thought we were going to go to conflict with Russia in 2019. The general assured that when it comes to outer space technology, we are still the best in the world, clearly in terms of capability. It says, however, he said China was catching up quickly, adding we should be concerned by the end of this decade if we don't adapt. Thompson said China is sending up new satellites twice as fast as the U.S. is managing to. Huh, Dex. Isn't that kind of funny? They said that. Thompson said China is sending up new satellites twice as fast as the U.S. is managing to. Huh. And
yep.
It's just kind of funny because now this email comes out and basically puts pressure on them. Hey, we need to be doing a whole lot more, and we need to be sending up. I wonder if twice as fast is once every 2 months.
Weeks. We need to be going every 2 weeks, right?
Yeah, and I wonder if they're going once a month and we're going at once every 2 months, and he's saying we need to be twice as fast as them. Maybe he just got pressure from the U.S. government or the U.S. military to be putting these things up. And, of course, they're not going to say that because they're not going to say that we're in this whole predicament right now and that we need hypersonic sensors up in the sky right this instant. I mean, like, why would he write that email that he knew was going to go public like that, and especially saying something like the word bankruptcy, right? Just weird. All right, let's get our next caller. That Gen X dude is on the phone. Let's head over to D-Live. Thank you, everybody over there. Thank you, Arizona Ice Queen. Thank you. I appreciate that. Just heard that on Thursday there will be an announcement with harsh laws on the Arizona Ice Queen. I don't know about how Arizona will be. I wonder what state or what. But again, it's only going to get crazier. I think everything was a practice run, and now we're getting into the real stuff. Thank you for the Ninja Guinea. I appreciate that. Delaware Sasquatch says, from WSJ, Meta property is now being bought and sold. Oh, weird. That's weird. We were talking about that. Thank you for letting us know, Delaware. All right, let's see here. That Gen X dude, you're on live. Marfoogle News.
God, how do I follow all that after everything you just said? Lord have mercy. Pick your poison.
So what is going on?
Jeez. It's getting crazy here, dude. Really crazy. I was telling Dex about it. I went to the big blue box store, you know, Walmart. But anyway, I went there today to get groceries. Well, I'm prepping, so I'm getting other things. And the store was fully stocked. There it is. There's the plane. I tried playing that on Facebook. I got it to play on Facebook, but it wouldn't let me write a caption of what that plane is. Those are the planes that used to train over me every single day. There are none here. And I know this video was from a month ago, but I haven't seen hide or hair of them in a month because their flight pattern is right over my house.
So wait, is this a real screenshot from a video of is this plane flying under the line of the buildings?
Yes. That my friend is a C5 Galaxy.
That is terrifying. Do you know
what? You gotta watch it, dude.
That's the
it's
one
nuts.
From Brisbane, Australia, that we reported on a month ago. That it flew through the city as a training op.
Oh my gosh, we did cover this. So I don't. Did we have pictures on this, Dex? I don't think we showed this video, or did we put it in the web only?
I put the video on today's under the show notes for this caller for that Gen X dude. So the actual video.
Yeah, I don't know if you can play it or not
because I didn't know if there was a copyright issue on it.
Since it's, the book has a face.
Wow, this is just look at how low it is compared to that building.
Dude, the video's nuts. I couldn't believe it. But then I put two and two together and overlapped it. If you would look at that vantage from my house, they've flown that low in rural areas where I live. Well, so I put two and two together, overlapped the picture, and I was like, damn, that's crazy.
Well, and you know why they do that low of a flight, right? I mean, that's to stay under the radar, and if they need to go in basically hot and heavy,
Let me tell you what, I don't know who was behind the yoke of that plane, but he made that thing look like an Indy car.
Well, they are very professional fighters.
I replayed it like 6 times. I could not believe it.
But you know that's why we have to understand they're doing drills they have never done before in history, like landing these kind of planes on highways. That's incredible.
People need to watch that video. That video will wake you up real freaking quick.
Well, again, so what happened at Walmart? I cut you off by putting the picture up.
Oh yeah. That was fully stocked yesterday, right? So we decided to go shopping, which I'm prepping. I don't have a lot of money, but I'm doing it. And it was nuts. People were getting things, but I'm watching people get things. And it's like things for your microwave and that quick and easy crap. You want to know the serendipity of it is that when I go back to the camping section where they have the lights, the batteries, the oils, all that stuff. Nobody has touched that except for the propane. They keep running out of fuel, but everything else is still there. Meanwhile, everybody else is in the grocery section going crazy. So I'm an amputee from the left knee down. But anyway, I have to ride a cart. And I started noticing that the Walmart associates were looking down in my basket and seeing what I was getting. And most of it was from the camping section because I'm not worried about all that crap on the other side. I'm trying to do my thing. So I get up to the register. Wife's got a cart, and I'm in the handicap cart. She rings up a bunch of the stuff that we had gotten first out of her cart. Then all of a sudden I see this message pop up on the self-checkout. It says maximization of items or something like this. Really big worded for my hick ass. But anyway, I was like, what's going on here? So the associate comes over, and this is the explanation I got. Oh, you reached a certain amount of money to put into the self-checkout. I'm thinking, these things hold thousands of dollars. We just spent only $400 the first time, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, no way. Is this like a limit of what I'm supposed to get, what I'm not supposed to get? But no, he said, you can do another ring up. So it made me ring up 2 separate things.
Wait a second.
But
so
my
it wasn't
heart sank because I thought, oh God, no, they're going to start limiting stuff.
So you're saying it wasn't a problem.
They're already practicing.
It wasn't a problem of taking the money. It could take the money. It just it wouldn't let you do a bigger cash transaction than $400 at a time. Yeah. But
these machines hold thousands of dollars. Why would I have to do 2 separate,
Well, if it took the second
checkouts?
One, then it's not full. That just means that they are trying to do it transactionally. So that is kind of weird. I have not.
I pay it. I pay attention to the stuff.
Well, notice
people don't think I'm looking, but I'm watching. I know.
So that Gen X, have you noticed that the cameras are pointed straight down? Now they say this is because of the theft and who's scanning what. But that also think about that. Think about that. They're getting every item that you scan is now on video camera with face recognition. That means they could go, hey, that Gen X dude is at Walmart. We're going to go look at that Gen X dude, and he always gets prepping materials, and he gets items. He gets items from the camping section.
You just made me think when I was in my cart going through the camping section. Yeah, they have the cameras that are hanging straight down, but now they have these little mini wireless ones that hang off the top shelf. So I'm looking at the headband lights and that kind of stuff and the fire strikers. I'm trying to decide what I'm going to get. Lo and behold, here comes this woman walking up the aisle with her hands behind her back, No cart, no nothing else. That's a dead giveaway. That's loss prevention, man. She walked right by my cart and looked right down in it like how am I going to steal anything? It's all right there in front of you. I don't think it's about stealing. I think it's about, oh, well, he's getting this, and that. But that's the funny thing. There's plenty of survival stuff there, prep stuff. Nobody's touching it.
Well,
nobody's touching it yet.
That'll bite them in the butt later.
Stuff, there's simple groceries, but they won't go for the good stuff.
It'll bite them in the butt later.
I'm telling you. And that's the other thing. When you got a little frustrated there the other day or last night with the people, you and Jacob Israel watch both of your two shows. So much is intertwined, it's not even funny. So it's like pick your pool or start an Armageddon pool to see what's going to go off first.
I mean,
what do you do?
You can be afraid of it, or you can just have fun every day.
No.
You are blessed here on Earth.
Yeah, it's like a sense of overload for everybody. I don't know if you feel that way sometimes.
Yeah, and I think people get scared.
What's going to happen? You know.
Well, that Gen X
student. That's why I say get your popcorn ready.
We're out of time, but I want to just say thank you for calling in, and again, I believe you 100%. I've had the same thing happen to me in Walmart, especially on those little aisles. They even have a monitor so you can see yourself. And
I was the only one in the aisle too, dude.
Oh yeah,
that's the crazy thing.
And you can always tell loss prevention. They'll circle the aisle and they'll come back around.
Oh my God, I know they're not good at their jobs, dude.
It feels like crap though.
For me, I know.
It feels like crap being followed by loss prevention. And nowadays, in every Walmart and every Target and they just assume everyone is a thief. So that's how you get treated in stores now. I don't know if does anybody agree with me? Let's go over to the chat. Has anyone been followed by loss prevention or looked at weird in any of the main big box retailers? Has anyone felt that way or been followed or had them? Video. My wife even said you need to start recording, like have a camera on your chest because of the weird stuff that happens. She was in mid checkout. And she scanned like a can, and the woman came over before she was even done paying. Or no, it was as her receipt was coming out, and she snatched the receipt and looked at it and didn't find anything wrong and gave it to her. And she's like, oh, okay, are you handing me my receipt? It was a self-checkout. So, like, she came over and snatched it from behind her like she wanted to grab it first to see.
Me being 46 years old, I'd have looked at him and said, what the hell are you doing, man? You better get back. Damn hands off me. That's crazy.
People that work at Walmart, and I understand the stuff they go through. They deal with some really junky people, especially depending on location. But I've told the manager there. I said that doesn't mean you have to.
Walmart that I go to.
You don't have. Lord. Well, no, it's all of them, man. I'm telling you, it's all of them.
And I've seen blatant stealing there too, by kids.
Yeah, Carl Turchek says walk in with a trench coat and shades. Yeah, no,
I know
thanks.
You got to get on with the news, so I'll get off here.
All right, hey, it was nice talking to you. That Gen X dude, I appreciate you. Okay.
Yeah, man. Anytime, dude.
All right, you have a great night. Firefighter says I don't shop at Walmart. Yeah. Let's see here. I have a chip on my shoulder. I'm left alone. Lead dispenser. Yeah, you just have to like walk around angry and just ready to snap. Otherwise, actually. I bet you if you did that, you walk around just they'll be like, hey, do you work at Walmart? Like, yeah, I work at Walmart. Oh, it's 10:59. Get the F out. And like everybody is a professional wrestler in that store at 10:59. Oh, get the F out. No, you may not go over there. I'm gonna block your head. Go that way, towards the front of this door, towards the front of this door. I'm gonna kick your ass. Sorry, I'm gonna have to meditate a second there after getting riled up about Walmart. NATO warns Russia of high price for any attack on Ukraine. Again, People say, "Oh, no, it's never going to happen." Just wait. It's in the process right now. They're setting everything up. These are long games, and people are impatient. People think, "Oh, if it's going to happen, it's going to happen now." No, it's going to happen in these baby steps, and then all of a sudden, it's going to snap and hit us in the face. I mean, this is big stuff we're talking about. We're talking about invading a country. Let's see here. Doover A says, "Marf, you've been eating too much Slim Jim." That is hilarious. No, I haven't. Sorry. It says another Russian invasion of Ukraine would carry a high price. NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg warned Tuesday, adding that the 30 allies together represent more than 50% of the global economy. Any future Russian aggression against Ukraine would come at a high price and would have serious political and economic consequences for Russia. Stoltenberg said at a news conference following that day of meetings among allied foreign ministers in Riga, Latvia. It says the United States and other Western allies have warned of a large mobilization of Russian forces and weaponry along the border with Ukraine, raising the risk of a potential new invasion. Russia invaded and annexed Crimea in 2014 and has backed armed separatists in a nearly 8-year-long conflict that continues in the eastern Ukrainian region of Donbass. Russia carried out a similar mobilization of forces last spring, but the U.S. told allies that aspects of the current buildup seem even more alarming this time. It says, quote, "The situation in and around Ukraine remains fluid and unpredictable." Stoltenberg said on Tuesday, "There is no certainty about Russia's intentions. We see a significant and unusual concentration of forces, which is unjustified and unexplained, and accompanied by heightened rhetoric and disinformation. And we know that Russia has used force before against Ukraine and other neighbors." Ukrainian officials have said that they have no expectation that their Western supporters, including NATO allies, will join a military conflict against Russia. Senior officials have called for an increased NATO military presence in the region, including stepped-up air policing and additional support such as military training. So go there and teach them how to fight for themselves, right? U.S. and EU officials have said that while Ukraine might request help in the form of weapons, they did not expect such assistance would ever tip the outcome of a conflict in Ukraine's favor, but would simply raise the number of casualties for Russia and inevitably for Ukraine. So this could have economic, but are they going to step in and fight for Ukraine? Here's the problem. If you don't step up for Ukraine or any other country that they start modern day taking over and just straight up taking back land, where is it going to stop? If China takes Taiwan and they take Ukraine, then you know that there's no power on earth that will stop these guys from grabbing more. That's modern day grabbing. That's land grabs. Dex, do you have an opinion on that?
Well, I think, we have to sort of follow the actions and disregard, I guess, what some of our adversaries say, because we know from the past when they say one thing, they actually do the total opposite. So if you see them building up forces on one side of a line and then they tell you it's for training, well, you can see the action and you sort of have to take the word with a giant grain of salt, right?
Exactly. You don't know what is actually going to happen, who's going to keep their words or who's actually going to step in. It says, this was an added quote from NATO: "We have seen our resolve and our willingness and our ability to sustain such economic sanctions when needed. I think that Russia actually underestimated the resolve of NATO allies to impose sanctions and sustain sanctions after the illegal annexation of Crimea in 2014. Another thing is, if they go all straight to world conflict, all these sanctions will be thrown out if they win. Who knows?
So these are a lot of words from NATO, but there's actually actions on our side that's going on, and we'll hear in just a moment when we move to the other articles.
Yeah, we got...
what Putin's saying and what he's also saying NATO is doing.
So it says that Putin warns the West Moscow has red line about Ukraine. It says Russian President Vladimir Putin on Tuesday sternly warned NATO against deploying its troops and weapons to Ukraine, saying it represents a red line for Russia and would trigger a strong response. Commenting on Western concerns about Russia's alleged intention to invade Ukraine, he said that Moscow is equally worried about NATO drills near its borders. Speaking to participants of an online investment forum, Putin said that NATO's eastward expansion has threatened Russia's core security interests. He expressed concern that NATO would eventually use the Ukrainian territory to deploy missiles capable of reaching Moscow in just 5 minutes. The emergence of such threats represents a red line for us. Putin said, I hope that will not get to that, and common sense and responsibility for their own countries and the global community will eventually prevail. He added that Russia has been forced to counter the growing threats by developing new hypersonic weapons. It says, quote, what should we do? Putin said, we would need to develop something similar to target those who threaten us, and we can do that even now. He said that the new hypersonic missile is set to enter service with the Russian Navy early next year and would be capable of reaching targets in comparable time. It would also need just 5 minutes to reach those who issue orders. That's really freaky, Dex. 5 minutes.
Exactly, and that's their counter to Ukraine.
That's just nuts. But by the way, 5 minutes. Think about that. That's barely enough time to cook a frozen dinner.
And we have less than 20 on YouTube.
Russia says NATO deploying significant hardware near its borders. So now you have both sides.
They're moving the equipment. Not they, Russia. We are.
And that's a red line.
Russia's saying it, right? So they're saying we're moving the equipment.
I
all we heard was words from NATO, but apparently they're making claims that the equipment's rolling in. So what does that tell us?
Well, that says, so if they say that that's a red line, that's a red line.
I wonder if he's going to keep drawing red lines. I think we've seen other leaders, even our own leaders, have to draw a red line and then erase it and draw it again.
Just maybe add another one. Oh, maybe I'll add a little hat. Those were red lines, by the way. Let's get our next caller on, but before we do so, I do want to remind you, if you have not already, if you want to stock up through us, you can go to marfooglenews.com/prep. You can get pretty much everything and anything, including long and short-term survival food. This is really good tasting food. This is one of the best tasting that I've had. Again, I tried 4 different kinds actually, and this was the 5th. And this was a 7-year sample that I tasted, and it was really, really good. So again, you want something that you can eat in a few years that doesn't make you gag. This is one of the best that I tried. Again, marfooglenews.com/prep. It's all from My Patriot Supply. It's a one-stop shop for pretty much everything you would need, including one of the most important ones, which is water purification. They say that 90% of the U.S. alone could perish from a lack of potable, drinkable water if we lose power. If we do have any country hit us with a super EMP or even a CME from, of course, Mother Nature, from the sun, then we would all perish from not having water. This is why it is so important to have something like an Alexa Pure Pro or something that can filter out nasty or dirty water into drinkable, potable. So again, make sure to go over and check it out, marfooglenews.com/prep. Most of these you can get a discount and also help your favorite channel at the same time. Not to mention it's way better prices than some of the other names that I've heard as far as some of the other brands that are overhyped. Alexa Pure Pro is one of the best. And again, it is a lot cheaper than some of its competitors. So again, make sure to go over and check it out, marfooglenews.com/prep. All right, Dex, let's get our third caller on, and then we'll talk basically about what happened here with the the last part of this Russia-Ukrainian situation.
Okay, Adam, Bones and Tubbs is live.
Bones and Tubbs, what's going on?
Hey, Marv, how's it going?
How are you doing? So what would you like to talk about today? It sounds like you wanted to mention that there was EpiPen and the cover-up.
Definitely the EpiPen. I'm very curious as to how they will cover this up, or, I don't know, continue without mentioning it, because it's huge. And it just seems as if, I don't know, they have a lot of people that are, Clinton level or higher, and they're not trying to talk about it.
Yeah, it's crazy because this should be one of the biggest stories out there, and it's really, I don't know why people are still not covering on every aspect what happened to EpiPen himself, investigating super deep into that. That should be all over. But of course,
exactly,
it's not.
And it's just like we had the Kyle Rittenhouse case that was live feed. Now all of a sudden we're not supposed to hear about this one. Very strange.
I was just saying that the other day. It's like why do some cases get the reaction that they do and why not? Maxwell's is not going to be public. Why is that not public? Because of the details?
Definitely not.
That's what I'm getting.
It's also a blocked term. You can't even post anything on it. I've had 3 posts removed off Instagram
off of the
mentioning that name.
Off of that case.
Yes, exactly.
Wow.
Mentioning that name in a hashtag, and they're just completely like, "Oops, they're removed."
Yep, exactly. And well, I mean, they're obviously looking at it as if it's something that they don't want everybody talking about, especially with all the big names involved. I mean, we're talking about probably some questioned that the fact that he stepped down the same day as the first day of the trial, that maybe his name might be on this list, or the pilots might say, "Hey, yeah, Jack Dorsey went to the island." Right.
It's funny that he stepped down. There's a lot of, I mean, it goes along with the same thing you talked about, all the CEOs stepping down and all that. But I mean, there's a lot going on right now, and I think it has to be involved. I don't see any other way that it's not.
Well, it's
I don't know.
Definitely there's a lot of weird coincidences there. Now, you also wanted to talk about the UFO shutdown the Cold War. That sounds like an interesting theory there.
Yeah. Have you heard about the, I'm sure you have. I'm pretty sure you've talked about it. I'm not sure, but the arrival of UFOs over Russian and United States nuclear bases.
Oh, yeah. We've talked about it a lot. And
they've shut down the nukes. And we called each other and we were like, "Hey, what's going on here? What did you do?" And we're like, "Well, we didn't do this." So I wonder if this will have anything to do with what's going on right now. We have a lot of like World War talk going on, and I just wonder if.
So what's your theory? What's your theory on the nuclear facilities shutting down at the same time as having UFO sightings? Do you think that they're saying that we shouldn't be using nuclear anything, or?
I don't know. I mean, if you look at it back before when we could have had nuclear war, and they shut it down. I mean, is it some sort of intervention, or is it something else? I mean, I don't know. We've tried to destroy ourselves numerous times with war, and that is a kind of an outlier. Like, what do you think about it?
Well, I mean, I guess I don't have anything to back it. That's the thing. I try not to talk about this stuff that if I personally think it, but I've never seen any proof of it. I know that there are videos that exist of them by and near these nuclear facilities, but like it says, like Luis Elizondo says that these things have gone offline, but I don't know if there's any confirmation of that. Obviously, that Congress and all of these other powers have said, it's very concerning that there have been these unidentified flying objects, and that's what they consider it, right? It could be Russia, could be China, near our nuclear facilities. But some have claimed that we have gotten close to launching, and then the launch didn't work, or the button just didn't push, or that basically nothing happened, like the electronics from these launches. And this is as far back as like the 80s, that there was a UFO, radar picked up stuff, and then all of a sudden our nuke didn't work when it was a false alarm. Because, by the way, the U.S. and China and Russia, we've all gotten in these very close calls where we almost launched on each other. They called each other and canceled it and whatever else. I just wonder how many of those are true, and if UFOs have truly taken down nuclear capabilities, and are they even UFOs, or did somehow they have a technology to fly over and shut it off before we launched it or something? It's weird.
Right. It just seems like we're getting very close to this, I don't know, precipice of nuclear war, and it's troubling.
Yes, it is. And by the way, I pulled up a history.com. Again, this is history.com saying, why have there been so many UFO sightings near nuclear facilities? It started in the 1940s near a bomb development sites. More recently, something has been stalking nuclear carrier strike groups. There's also the theory that has been in a lot of sci-fi, which is the second we got nuclear, that other UFO other alien civilizations saw us as evolving, and they said, oh, well, we need to go visit them. They're at the point where they can be inducted into the Hall of Civilizations, right? Or something, that we're being upgraded as a civilization.
I just don't know. It just seems so. We're in a position right now where it's just it just seems, with all this, the V nonsense, I don't know. It just seems like they are trying to move us in a certain position where it just, I don't even know how we're going to pull out of it, And I told Dax that I would ask you to check out, if I can do a plug right now, Max Egan on BitChute.
Absolutely. And why? I believe he got booted off of other places, right?
He did completely booted off every single, social platform you can imagine. He's the I constantly say on our podcast that he is the grandpa that we all need. Max Egan is the grandpa that we all wish for in these days. But everyone should look at Max Egan on BitChute.
I think I recently heard, I saw a video of them talking about Max Egan. So is he the one that has a certain tattoo on his hand? It's of a German descent that some people were talking about.
No, I don't know about that. I could be wrong, but I'm not sure that he has a tattoo on his hand.
Okay. I don't know who it is. I recognize the name because I believe I saw people going back and forth about his name or about what he has done.
Yeah. No.
I will check him out, but again, you already plugged.
I would
figure I will go check him out as well and see what he's all about. Thank you for calling.
I would totally recommend you check that out. Can I do a prayer request before I get off here?
Sure.
I'm sorry to hold you.
No, go ahead.
Okay. We have a prayer request. Somebody, Ember Johnson. She's one of the listeners of our podcast, and she's now a listener of the Marfoogle Nation. She has an issue. She's on bed rest. She needs help, and she is, basically waiting for help. And She needs a good gastro doctor to help her, and she is stuck in her current position. And I just wanted to put it out there so that everybody could pray for her.
All right. Well, Ember, I'm praying for you, and I know that there's a lot of people in our audience that will as well. I want to say thank you for calling in, and I really do appreciate your call, and I hope you are not a stranger. Again, Bones and Tubbs Show. If you guys haven't checked them out, go over and check out their podcast, Bones and Tubbs Show. Again, we've got about 5 minutes left on our show, so I do got to get to one more article before we go. So thank you, and I appreciate
brother.
it.
Have a good night.
All right, Bones and Tubbs Show. Not to be confused with Bones, one of the most awesome mods here. I want to say thank you to Kazuko G. Thank you so much for supporting over on PayPal. Survival Living aka CFP. Thank you so much for your support. Jeanette T says, happy Thanksgiving, Adam, Dex, and awesome mods. Did a PayPal before Thanksgiving. Thank you. Last week, Elizabeth M. Thank you so much for your support over on PayPal. AK Reed, AK RE55. If you guys haven't checked him out, he's amazing. Thank you so much. Thanks, Adam and Dex mods. Much love. Thank you, Reed. You didn't have to do that. Thank you so much. Amazing Giants. In my dreams, we are friends. That's awesome. The Amazing Giants. Thanks for the PayPal. MJ, wish I could catch more live shows, but always catch a replay. Keep up the good work. And then Linda M and Linda P back to back. Thank you, both Lindas. Thank you guys for supporting us over there. That helps. Again, it's virtually viewer supported now. We have hit so many downhills over the last 2 years for what we cover. It's just unbelievable. So thank you so much, everybody that helps support my family and Dex's family. Thank you guys. Thank you for supporting the Marfoogle family in general. Make sure to press an Make sure to press an M in the chat for your mods. They have made it a livable place down there. An awesome, very, very positive place. Dex, just want to hit again this piece. It basically says that Russia says NATO is deploying the significant hardware. They say they have proof of NATO basically loading up the border. We have proof of Russia loading up the border. They're getting ready for a conflict. If it does get taken down a notch, then that's going to be quite surprising, actually.
Yeah, and it's not surprising. It wouldn't be surprising that NATO gave hardware to the Ukraine. We don't know that necessarily for sure just yet, but we do know that if Russia's loading up on one side to do, drills as they call them, that the Ukraine is going to load up their side. So when they're moving their equipment in or making moves like that, it's real easy for Russia to turn around and point the finger and say, look, that's NATO doing it, since NATO's trying to back the Ukraine, right? So that red line they put out there is literally, as you said, being crossed. So it's going to be interesting to see how they react. Do they redraw the line, or do they actually, stand up for what they say they're going to stand up for?
I guess we will see. How much time do we have left?
We're down to just a few minutes, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah, less than 3.
If you just want to sum up the web only.
Yeah, go check it out. MarfoogleNews.com. Click on the thumbnail, scroll down to web only. Look, there's the first video you need to take a look at just for what's happening in Australia. Plenty of other things on here. Too hot for TV content, a lot of political stuff, other things like that. Check it out, MarfoogleNews.com, or if you're on YouTube, first link in the description.
Wow, all 3 tested negative. Wow. That's just...
A manhunt. A manhunt for that.
Because they didn't want to go in the place because they're not...
Well, no, they broke out of the place. Isn't that crazy?
Well, yeah, but they don't want to do the thing, so they were put into a place, and then they escaped it, and now there's a manhunt, and they found at least 3, and they were negative. Anyways, you go over here. There's so much here tonight. Again, make sure to go over. It's a whole other show. Thank you, Dex, for all of your service tonight. I appreciate you. I appreciate all of your services. Thank you.
Much love, brother. Great show.
Amanda Evanson, love to all. I bet Walmart and other stores have cameras pointed at specific items, probably the same ones that trigger response at the register. Hi, Gen X. Amanda Evanson said that. When in Dupree, Putin will threaten NATO, U.S. as he has for years. May the Schwartz be with you. Winton Dupree. Oh, yeah. and again, he pounds his chest. He's the saber rattler. But when it comes to actual gear getting put, that's where people kind of get nervous. As far as James Fox goes, thank you for your support. Let's see here. The Lifeboat, thank you so much for your massive support yesterday. I appreciate that. And then Tanya, what the flux capacitor. Thank you guys. Have a great night. It's now time for the shoutro. It's officially not a shout out. It's not a outro. It's a shoutro. Miss Jackson 908, thank you. You hear about school bang bang in Michigan today. So we added that. Dex, did we add that? I sent that to you before the show. 3 were taken in that bang bang. It was a student, a 15-year-old student, and he took the life of 3 other students, supposedly. Again, that's really horrible. I have a thought and a theory about most of what is going on, and when they kick up certain events, it's almost like it's history repeating itself. So I don't know. We may see more of those coming.